So today we're going to update the spreadsheet, enter in those distributions, find out what those are paying out this week, and find out what that's going to adjust my real price per share to. Now in the meantime, I did buy some shares of Google just because of the drop right here. And I bought a few times, and we'll take a quick look at that just to show those purchases that I did make on Google just because of the big drop we had toward the end of the week. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to update that spreadsheet, enter in those distributions, find out what my new real price per share is, and you'll notice not much of a change for this week. But before we get into that, let's take a look at Google. And here we are on Google. Now for this one here, I ended up making a few different purchases. That first purchase was right in this area right here, roughly on July 22nd. We had dropped down below the midpoint of that Bollinger Band, and that's what's shown right here. That's the upper portion of that Bollinger Band, and that yellow line right here, that's the lower part of that Bollinger Band, and of course the blue line being the mid. So when it actually ended up dropping on that 22nd, I ended up buying a couple shares at that price. And I got those just because of the earnings, right? It had an earnings report at the end of the day. So I did play that one, figured that if the earnings were good, I'd get a nice little pop up, buying them at around $347.30 right here. That was that purchase that I did make for those shares. And you can see I ended up purchasing about 4 shares at roughly $347. And you can see that next day after the earnings, it fell, and it fell pretty hard, right? We actually dropped out below the Bollinger Band, and we were down as low as $318.34. Now with Google, in my opinion, being a banger of a stock, I did not want to sit by and let a price like that go by, right? If I was willing to buy shares up here, why in the world would I not be willing to buy shares at roughly 318 or 317 area right here? So that's exactly what I did. And we can take a look at that order sheet, and there we are. As it was dropping, I got 2 of them at 329. And then as it fell even more, I purchased 2 more at 318.75. So I ended up getting about 8 shares of Google in just a matter of a couple days toward the end of last week. Now, would it have been better had the earnings actually caused that stock to pop up? Sure, but I can actually flip this around and say, I just got a discount on Google because earnings caused it to fall. Now, like I said, on this day right here, it got as low as $314.89, and on Friday got as low as $317.50. And with my purchase at the low of $318.75, which is about right where it closed on Friday, I'm pretty happy with that. So just wanted to show you a couple plays that I did make this past week because of the earnings play on Google. And if we take a look at Bitcoin just to see where it's currently at, we can see that it's just basically down and bouncing around at that 64.7K. We are currently at about 65.3, but it's just bouncing around that 64.7 line that we've had drawn in here for quite a while now. And Bitcoin is just not moving a whole lot. Now, if we take a look at Mr. MSTR, you can see that it has been coming down, and it actually got as low as about $81.81 right here before moving back up slightly. And we're currently at $91.67, which of course, since Mr. is down, that causes MSTY to be down as well. But just like Mr., we are somewhat trading sideways for the last few weeks right here, and currently sitting at about $12.24. But with all that said, let's move over to the spreadsheet. Let's get that thing updated and find out where I currently sit in each of my positions. And here we are on the spreadsheet. And each week I go through each of my high yield ETFs, I enter in those distributions, and I show you where I currently sit in each of those positions as I do capture those distributions to help offset my average for each of these plays. As you can see, the red, of course, means that I am down on that position, and the green, I am up on the position. So the ones that I am down on are CONY, ULTY, SMCY, and WDTE. Those are the only ones that I'm down on. The rest of them I am up on. WDTE, I am down about $800. SMCY, almost $200. ULTY, about $38. And CONY, about $2,800. But I do continue to work to lower that real price per share. And if it does hit certain points, I will buy more shares to help bring down that real price per share, to help get me closer to that market price, so that when eventually Bitcoin does start moving back up, some of these here will start moving up as well. Because as you know, in the market, we have up days and we have down days. So you got to take the good with the bad, and you just be patient with your positions and be sure to keep monitor of them. And that's what this spreadsheet helps you to do. It helps you to know exactly where you are in each of your high yield ETF positions. So let's just go ahead and get this kicked off. But before we do that, if you don't mind, hit that like button, as it would be much appreciated. So the current position right now, if we were to sell out of all of these high yield ETFs, I would make $22,242 above what I had invested. But now let's enter in those distributions and let's see what it's going to move that up to. So for CONY, to get to that individual sheet, we hover over that ticker and we click the pop-up. Takes us right to that individual sheet so that you can enter in your distributions and any purchases that you have made. Now, of course, to get a copy of this spreadsheet so that you can track each one of your high yield ETFs and also be able to compile it all into that summary page, come on over, join the Discord. The link is in the pinned comments in the descriptions below. But with CONY here, we earned 27 cents, which is up from last week, and I own a total of 420 shares, and my real price per share at $26, but each time I do enter a distribution, I am capturing that, so it's going to help to lower that real price per share. And this sheet helps me to calculate that simply by just entering in the X date, the distribution amount, and how many shares I own. So for this one, it's going to lower that real price per share of $26 down to $25.72. So each week, I'm able to drop down my real price per share. And if CONY moves up or just trades sideways, I'll be able to catch up to it and eventually drop down below that current price and flip that red cell that's on the summary page to a green cell. And that is my plan for each one of these high yield ETFs. But moving forward, we have PLTY. And for PLTY, we earn 29 cents and I have 37 shares. And that's going to lower that real price per share of minus $9.15 because this one is indeed paid off. And that's going to drop it down to minus $9.44. So if I were to sell all my shares of PLTY at the current price, I would make $1,401. And back on CONY, if I were to sell those, I would take a loss, but it would now only be a loss of $2,646 versus the before close to $2,800. And next we have NVDY. We earn 9 cents on NVDY. I have 71 shares. That's going to help to drop that real price per share of $8.95 down to $8.86. And that is indeed below that current price. So if I were to sell all my shares at that current price of NVDY, I would make $260. For ULTY, I earn 31 cents and I have 56 shares. That's going to lower that real price per share of $27.31, which is not too far above the current price of $26.63. But since it is indeed above that current price, it is currently showing a loss of $38. But after we enter in this distribution, that's going to adjust that real price per share and the unrealized gains down to a real price per share of $26.99 and only a loss of 20 bucks. So as you can see, I am continually able to lower my real price per share, and as ULTY trades sideways or moves up, it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to continue to lower my real price per share because my goal is to get it paid off. And for ULTY, currently I have an average distribution of about 33 cents, as you can see here at the top, with an estimated number of distributions of 82 distributions, and I should have ULTY paid off. And that's all assuming that we can keep at least a 33 cent distribution. Now, of course, if it is under 33 cents, that will cause it to increase a little bit. But if it does go over that 33 cents, then it, of course, will drop those number of distributions needed. So this is just an estimated number, not a guaranteed 82 distributions to get it paid off. For MSTY, this one here I've had paid off for a little while, and we earned 22 cents this week, and I have an average of 19 cents per distribution, right? So we did surpass that one this week, and I have a total of 95 shares. But since this one is paid off, my real price per share is a negative, right? Because it is indeed below zero. Because all these distributions I'm earning is just going straight into my pocket because I have earned more in distributions than I actually have invested, right? So those 95 shares is going to help to lower that real price per share of minus 14.62 down to minus 14.84. And if I were to sell all my shares of MSTY at the current price, I'd make 25.72. For SMCY, we earned 6 cents and I have 450 shares. And that's going to help to lower that real price per share of $5.20 down to $5.13. And if I were to sell all my shares at that current price of SMCY, I would take a loss, but it would only be a $140 loss. For AMDY, we earned 72 cents this week, and I have 164 shares, which is going to lower that real price per share of $13.61 down to $12.89. So you can see if I were to sell all these shares of AMDY at the current price, I would make $6,182. And if you look at the top up here, for the last 4 distributions, the average is 81 cents. But if we would keep that 81 cents or above, then I could get this one paid off in about 16 more distributions. So this one is getting really close to getting paid off if we can keep those distributions at around 80 cents. For YMAX, we earned 6 cents and I have 758 shares, which is going to lower that real price per share of $5.42 down to $5.35. And my real price per share is under that current price per share. So therefore, if I had to sell all my shares of YMAX, I would make $1,495. For WHOI, we earned 40 cents. And I have 175 shares. And why is it above what I had last week of 151? Well, that was because I did make a purchase the week before, but it was after that X date of 7/16. If we scroll right up here, you can see it's 7/17. So I could not count those 24 shares until this week. So this week, I'm actually able to count all 175 shares of WHOI at that 40 cents, and that's going to help to lower that real price per share of $32.15 down to $31.74. And that means if I were to sell all my shares of WHOI at the current price, I would take a loss, but it would only be a loss of $814 because the current price of WHOI is at $27.09 versus my real price per share at $31.74. But if WHOI does move back up, it's going to definitely decrease that potential loss. And if it can get above that 31.74, back up to 32 or higher, then I'm going to show this one as green in the summary page. QDTE, we earned 23 cents this week, and I have 155 shares, which is going to lower that real price per share of $18.47 down to $18.24. And notice that the current price of QDTE is $28.56. So if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would make $1,600. So I am down a few, but the majority of them I am up. So therefore, overall, the portfolio is positive. On IWMY, we earned 11 cents, and I have 551 shares, which is going to help to lower that real price per share of $12.97 down to $12.86. And if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $18.91, I would make $3,333. For QQQY, we earned 13 cents, and I have 551 shares. And that's going to help to lower that real price per share of $16.97 down to $16.84. With the current price of Y at $21.94, I would make $2,809 if I sold out of QQQY. For WDTE, we earned 17 cents, and I have 540 shares, which is going to help to lower that real price per share, $22.14 down to $21.97. Now, WDTE's current price is $29.08, and that means that if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would make $3,837. For JEPQ, this is a monthly payer, and I do not have one to record for this week. So my real price per share of $7.33 still stands, and the current price being $57.96 means if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would make $2,784. And last we have DIVO. It also is a monthly payer, and I do not have a distribution to record for this week. But with my real price per share of $44.01 and the current price being $46.67, if I were to sell all 17 shares, I would make $45. And that wraps up all of the high yields that I do have. And to get back to that summary page, to find out what that new total gain is, we can just hover right over back to summary, click the pop-up, and there you go. So it was 22.2 and now it's 22.9. So I was able to increase the account slightly, but once everything starts moving up a little bit, and as I am lowering my real price per share because I am capturing those distributions, then I will be able to eventually get these paid off and not have to worry about the price at all. I'll just be capturing those distributions, using that distribution money however I so choose. But as you can see, as I scroll through, all of them are green except for the 4 that I called out earlier. And even those are not down by much. HUI, we're down $800. SMCY down $140. ULTY down $20. And the big one that I'm down on is CONY, which is about $2,600. But do note that I am up on PLTY by $1,400, up on NVDY for $260, up on MSTY $2,500, AMDY up $6,100, YMAX up $1,400, QDTE up $1,600, IWMY up $3,300, QQQY up $2,800, WDTE up $3,800, JEPQ up $2,700, and DIVO up $45. So when you add it all up, you're going to see that it's about 22.9K in the good if I were to sell all of my positions in these high yield ETFs. So if you'd like to get a copy of this sheet so that you can properly track where you are on your high yield ETFs, then come on over, join the Discord. That link is in the pinned comments and the descriptions below. I'd love to have you. And of course, if you have any questions, put those into the comments or hit me up on Discord. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. As always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.